Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 8, text 13. Om. On page 378. Iti ekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mam Anusmaran Ya Prayati Jajan Deham Sa Yati Paramam Gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharam Anusmaram. Ya Prayati Jajan Deham. Sayati Paramam Gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharan mam anusmaran. Ya prayati tyajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharan mam anusmaram. Ya prayashati tyajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim.
Om iti ekaksharam Brahma.
Om iti ekaksharam Brahma.
Vyaharam anusmaram.
Ya prayati jajan deham.
Sajati paramam gatim.
Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Ya prayati jajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharam anusmaram. Ya prayati jajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharam anusmaram. Ya prayati jajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharam anusmaram. Ya prayati jajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharam anusmaram. Ya prayati jajan deham. Sayati paramam gatim. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Vyaharam anusmaram. Ya prayati jajan
the combination of letters Omkara.
Combination of letters Omkara.
Iti,
Iti,
thus.
thus.
Ekaksharam is a one syllable.
The one syllable.
Brahma,
Brahma,
absolute.
absolute.
Vyaharan,
Vyaharam,
vibrating.
vibrating.
Mam,
Mam,
me, Krishna.
Krishna.
Anusmaram,
Anusmaram,
remembering.
remembering.
Ya,
Ya,
anyone who.
anyone who
Prayashati, leaves.
leaves.
Tyajan,
Tyajan,
quitting.
quitting.
Deham,
Deham,
this body.
this body.
Sa,
Sa,
he.
he.
Yati,
Yati,
achieves.
achieves.
Paramam,
Paramam,
the supreme.
the supreme.
Gatin,
Gati,
destination.
destination.
English. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahma, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is clearly recommended for this age. So if one quits his body at the end of life, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets, according to the mode of practice. The devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavan. For the personalists, there are innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual world, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti. Om Jnana Tamranya Sagyana Vinasalakaya Jaksuran Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, so I asked the spiritual master to open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge so that I can speak something on this, because there's so much here. As we see in this verse, it talks about quitting the body. Who has to quit the body? Someone else, right? Isn't that it? Someone else has to quit the body? All of our situations remain the same? So if we want to, we can stay in this material world? Can we? We can't? See, that's it. Because here's where we get mixed up. Is that we think the situation is nice, so we want to stay. So Krishna gives us the chance that after quitting this body, we do achieve some kind of destination. But the whole idea that Krishna is giving us in this Bhagavad-Gita is that there may be many kinds of destinations. You could take a birth on a lower planet. You could go to somewhere like Indraloka, which sounds really, really good, doesn't it? It's better than here, right?
Sure.
Yeah, we're moving you to, it's like there's a prison. If they're moving you to the better prison, it's actually good from where you're at, but that doesn't mean it's the best thing, right? 500 rupees is good, but it isn't the same as $1 billion. So this is what we're trying to understand here, is a supreme destination. That generally we stay in this material world because we think either what we have now is good and we don't need to go to something else, or there's something better in the material world. But all of these things are limited and temporary. So the point here is that Krishna is talking about the spiritual world and how to achieve it. Now we see here that both Om and Hare Krishna have good spiritual effect. And just like we were talking about money, 100 rupees and 500 rupees, 100 rupees is contained within 500 rupees, right? Is it? Somebody here, I owed him 150. I gave him the 500, and he gave me some back. So the 100 is contained within it. So it is just like the 500 and the 100 are both money, but the 500 is more. So the Om is the sacred sound, but the Hare Krishna is more sacred sound, and it is the process for this age. And within that, the Om is there. And a lot of this goes back to we were talking about the materialists, the destination that we go to. Krishna is explaining here, even in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is talking about this in the Madhya-lila, that between the spiritual and material world there's a body of water known as Raja. And in here it talks about that the spiritual nature is so vast that it's 3/4, and the material part is only 1/4. And since the material part is only 1/4, we'll talk about that because it's easier, as being said here. So generally we're thinking that advancement means to get to a better part of this material world. We can have that destination. We can go to a lower place because of sinful activities. We can come back to something that's here, and we can go to the higher material planets. Because a lot of this is based on desire. Is there anyone here that only wants to serve Krishna and no other desire in life? Raise your hand. Which one? Yes? Except to serve Krishna, no desire at all ever comes in your mind?
Whatever he asks to do.
That's good. I try to have that idea. I remember my body and my mind are the spiritual masters. But so many ideas try to come in. Maybe not every day and all day long, but others must have ideas that come in. Or others have that voice saying, don't you want to enjoy just a little? If you enjoy a lot and you suffer a lot, you get bad results. If you have mixed activities, you get mixed results. So Krishna is trying to show us here what the benefit is of reaching the spiritual planets. Because if we reach somewhere like Indraloka, and even if we get beautiful members of the opposite sex to be involved with, lots of money, long duration of life, when it's over, it's over. Whereas in the spiritual world, there is an eternal abode. So within the spiritual, the impersonalists are above the materialists, and they chant the mantra Om, and they get a kind of mukti which is called Sauja Mukti. They merge into the effulgence of the Lord. You can get this by chanting the mantra Om. Now Om may lead us to Krishna. Om is within Krishna, but Krishna isn't totally within Om. So usually the impersonalists and the yogis, they chant Om with a desire to do what? Merge into what? Merge into the Brahma-Jyoti. They become freed from the material existence. But yet, this is not the highest goal. Above this, we are reading here that the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, which are different like different rooms of a treasure house, are all there, filled with all opulences. Those unlimited planets house the Lord's eternal associates, who are also enriched with the 6 opulence. So that means that if you go back to the spiritual planets, there's many Vaikuntha planets. And in these, the Lord is holding the form of the lotus flower, the conch shell, the club, and the disc. And in different planets, they're in different forms. Also, one of the planets is where Rama is residing, and Shringa is residing on one. And on these planets, you have the 6 opulences, which are wealth, fame, beauty, renunciation, intelligence. Did we forget something? And you get these to such a great degree. And on these Vaikuntha planets, you get something beyond the Sayuja Mukti. You get, you have the Salokya Mukti, you're on the planet with the Lord. And you get to associate with the Lord. You have Sarupya Mukti, you have a form like the Lord's. And you have the Shashti, the opulences, similar to the Lord's, not quite in the same degree, obviously, to a small degree. And on these Vaikuntha planets, there are so many of them. And on these, we are totally freed from the material existence. And we can engage in different kinds of relationships with Lord Narayan. With Lord Narayan, we may have the Shantaras, which means we appreciate through neutrality. You could be like an animal or a tree. Or you can have Dasiras, where you are serving the Lord, Vaikuntha. And in this place, you never come back to the material world. And it sounds so wonderful. But as we read here, it says here, below the Vrindavan planet is the Vishnu Loka. And what else does it say here? A particular verse I was looking for here. It was saying that Vrindavan is way beyond the potency of Vaikuntha. It says here that Vrindavan is the storehouse of Krishna's mercy and the sweet opulence of conjugal love, where there is spiritual energy working as a maidservant, exhibits the rasa dance and quintessence of all pastimes. So even though we see here that there's higher material planets, beyond that is the Brahma Jyoti, and beyond that are the Vaikunthas. But as we are seeing here, I had so many books out, I think it was in here where it described this. But after we were talking about the excellence of Vaikuntha, we see that Goloka's beauty surpasses that of Vaikuntha. The forest of Vrindavan exceeds the desires of Lakshmi. In Gokula, all the auspicious splendor of Vaikuntha resides. Plus there's more. It's just like the Om mantra has great potency, but Om is contained within Hare Krishna. But Hare Krishna has something more that Om does not have. So all the opulence of Vaikuntha is contained there within Goloka, but it also has more. So when we are chanting Krishna's name, we are of course looking to this portion of the spiritual world. We see that in the spiritual world there may be the many Vaikuntha planets, and it's a great opulence. But in the Krishna Loka planet, we have a chance. There is the realms of Mathura, where there's the Boma Mathura, Boma Dwarka, and Boma Vrindavan, where Krishna comes to this world and he shows us what the relationships are like in that part of the spiritual world. So we see that in Mathura, in Dwarka, Krishna has relationships with his wives, and in this realm you go beyond Vaikuntha, that people can have the Vatsalya, Sakya Rasa, first friendship relationship with the Lord. They can not only have neutrality and servitude, but they can have Sakya Rasa, friendship with the Lord in Dwarka. And there can be Vatsalya Rasa. Vasudeva and Devaki are there. And you can have Madhurya Rasa, the conjugal relationship with Krishna. Krishna has his wives that are there in Dwarka. But actually there's another section, Mathura, which is even a little sweeter than Dwarka. And then the Gokula part is even more sweet, because in this realm, these relationships are intensified even more. There's not only the servitude and neutrality, But the friendship there, you see, Krishna comes in this world and he shows us a part of what the spiritual world is like. He comes and he has his cowherd boyfriends, and they show this friendship relationship. Of course, there are different kinds of friendships. Some are like younger friends, some are like the same age as Krishna, some are the Priya Namashakas who go out and meet with Radharani's associates to try to arrange relationships with Krishna and Radharani. And then we have the Vatsalya Rasa, the relationship of mother and father of Krishna, and also others who are like uncles and aunts, the ones like not only Nanda but Upananda and Sunanda, his brothers, the uncles. This is another kind of parental relationship. And so Krishna comes to this world and he shows us that just like in the spiritual world, there's also a Nanda's palace, but there are many big palaces in the city, and in the city there are 7 layers in this city. And on one layer, the cowherd boys are there with Krishna, and in another special layer, Krishna's most intimate female associates are there, and the doors are locked there. It's not open to everyone, but the most intimate relationships with Krishna. So Krishna shows us a little bit of what this spiritual world is like. And we see that in this opulence there's the city where all of these pastimes are going on, just like in this world. But the amazing thing is, it says here in the Gopala Champu written by Jiva Goswami that in this lotus there's the 7 layers, and there's all the different relationships going on within this city. But there are also many billions of other similar cities. Just like when Krishna was dancing with the gopis, each gopi thought that Krishna was with them alone. Krishna was with them alone, but he was also with the others. So in this world, we have like one city in the Vrindavan where Krishna comes and shows his relationship with his devotees and how to achieve that relationship. But in the spiritual world, there's billions of similar cities. Of course, when you're in the city, you have relationships with the other devotees, and you serve Krishna together with them. We don't just arrive in the spiritual world and say, okay, Krishna, I'm here to serve in an advisory capacity. It may shock you, but Krishna does not need you to serve in an advisory capacity. Krishna has it all figured out already. So, in the city that you're in, which seems like so much opulence and so much madhurya, love, there's many billions of others just like it. Now, of course, there will be different people who have a parental relationship with Krishna. Different people acting as Krishna's friends. Just like here, you go to a different city. You go to Mathura, they also have buildings, and they have shops, and they have things going on. And then you go to Delhi, and they have people, and they have shops, and they have things going on. But the difference is that in this spiritual planet, here we have no knowledge, it is temporary, and it is not full of happiness. Whereas in the land of Goloka, it is Satchit Inanda, eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. So what we see in this world is like the representation of one city, but imagine there's billions of cities, and there's a different form of Krishna in each one. And the form of Krishna is not like a reflection. In the reflection, you cannot do, it maybe follows what your hand is doing, but the same potency is not there. But Krishna can be with the 16,108 wives in Dwarka, and even though he's expanded himself, each form is fully potent. Can anyone comprehend that? Maybe our minds are limited to comprehend that. That doesn't mean it's not possible, though. So, in each of these different cities, Krishna is there, and he may be expanded into many forms in each one. And this is the unlimited nature of Krishna. So we see here that Krishna is trying to tell us in the Bhagavad-Gita about how to attain the Supreme. And we see there's many things here that are important. Situated in the yoga practice, vibrating the letters, and thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is why the process of devotional service involves many things. Eventually we are supposed to surrender everything to Krishna. It's called Atma Nivedanam. So that's where we start, right? Is it? So since that's the goal, should we start there? You think so, Jagpari?
I missed your question.
Since the goal is to surrender everything to Krishna, is that where we start?
The goal, yeah, well, in that case, the goal is the first step.
Yes. Surrendering everything is the result. Some people say, oh, I surrender my life to Jesus, and then they just think it's done with. They don't realize that there's more steps to this. So what we see here is that it begins with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, and then Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything. So it starts with Shravanam, hearing. By hearing, we become situated in this yoga practice. Yoga means to link. So we link ourselves to Krishna by hearing His name. This is yoga. By hearing, we can do yoga by doing postures, or by trying to do Ashtanga yoga, make the soul go out the top of the head, or we can do Bhakti yoga, where we are linking to Krishna through devotion. So this is what is mentioned in this verse, is a yoga practice. And the yoga practice can be, of course, linking to Krishna and having our connection with Krishna. Yoga means to link, and we can vibrate the Om sound. But just like within the 500 rupee note, there's also 100 rupees. If we chant Hare Krishna, we get all the effects of Om plus more. Just like the Brahma Jyoti is spiritual, the Vaikuntha is more, and in the Krishna Loka, as we read, you get all the benefits of Brahma Jyoti, plus all the benefits of Vaikuntha, plus more. So why not have the total package and get all of it? If I give you a choice, do you want the 500 rupee note, or do you want a 100 rupee note, or do you want your 100 inside the 500? Which would be better? Wouldn't it be better to take the whole package that entails everything? So Krishna is saying this, and that's where Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, because we may not be in pure desire to serve Krishna, but love is a verb. So if we think, I don't feel love, then we have to try giving love. By chanting Krishna's name and concentrating on the name, that's hearing and chanting, we get the smaranam, or we begin to remember God. And by reading, we also hear about His name, form, quality, and pastimes. In Sanskrit, that's nama, guna, rupa, and lila. And so, by this, we automatically will do the archanam, where we serve the deity, and vandanam, we offer prayers. And finally, we have sakyam, where we develop friendship with the Lord, and atma nivedana. So this is the process. We don't seem to be at a point where, in one sense, devotional service, bhakti, means someone who is totally surrendered to Krishna. But also Prabhupada mentions in the Gita that it is a long road from the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, from the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga. It's like Jagpari was saying, it begins with the first step of going there. And so what's important for ourselves is to realize, in one sense, we may have a long journey to go. But rather than think of that, it's important to do on a daily basis. We chant Hare Krishna at least 16 rounds a day. We attend Artik ceremonies, we read something. And by offering ourselves a little to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with us. And we start to develop more feeling. And when we realize what the ultimate goal is, that we not only get beyond material suffering, but we get beyond the temporary material benefits and get spiritual benefits, and we get beyond the spiritual benefit of being liberated in Brahmajyoti to being in the spiritual planets and to have a form like the Lord. And if we can be so lucky to go to the Goloka part, we can be in a relationship with Krishna where we almost forget. The devotees know that Krishna is God, but they are so much in love with him that they almost forget this. It's like when Mother Yasoda asks Krishna, your friend said you have eaten dirt, you open your mouth. And he opens his mouth and she sees everything within the universe inside. She says, yes. She says, she goes, that's nice that you're God, but still you must come and eat. So to her, she knows in the back that Krishna is God. But to her, her loving relationship is the most important thing with her. Because our rasa, our sambandha is everything. Krishna may be God, but it is our relationship with him that's important. Krishna may be God, but he is neutral to us until we turn towards him, because he is not going to force us. So it is very clearly given in this verse that if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will reach the spiritual planets. And we see there is so much reading here about what goes on in the spiritual planets. Written by Jiva Goswami. Rupa Goswami has written other things. And of course, Krishna came here 5,000 years ago to show us what goes on in the spiritual planets. Because this Vrindavan is a representation of the spiritual planets. So when you're here with Krishna in the material world, you're not really in the material world. You know, to me, I want to get out of the material world. And the idea of thinking, gosh, is it true I have to come back? We read sometimes you go straight to the spiritual world. Other times you read, you go to a place in the material world where Krishna is appearing. And then you get trained up in his pastimes to go from Gokul Vrindavan to Goloka Vrindavan. But the real reality is this, that if we are there with Krishna within this world, because we are there with Krishna, as soon as we are born, we know that we are in relationship with Krishna. We know that we are liberated from material bondage. We don't have the wonderment of what is going on, how long will it take, what is my situation. We know for sure what our destination is. Because being with Krishna here is the same as being with Krishna there. And that's what we see in Vrindavan. This Vrindavan is the same as the spiritual world. It is a training place to go to that spiritual world. So if we take birth with Krishna, it is the same as being liberated, because we are not confined to the material conditions. We are there with Krishna, which is one of the 5 kinds of liberation. And if we're in a relationship with Krishna, this is also liberation. So even if we have a material body and we're there with Krishna, we don't have to suffer the material inebrities. We are liberated, we are conscious, just like when we go back to the spiritual world, we will remember something that we were here in the material world. But it's like remembering that you were playing as a baby or something you did. It isn't near as important as being there with Krishna. So this is the idea for us to remember this supreme combination of letters. And I think most of us are vibrating these letters, aren't we? Anyone here chanting Hare Krishna?
Yes.
Who chants Hare Krishna here?
How do you do it?
Well, we do it several ways. We have kirtan, we have japa on beads. But the main thing is that when we're vibrating it, is to try to hear it. Because if any chanting is good, but it's like if you throw some water towards the plant, some will get in the plant, but it's better to pour the water directly into the plant. So concentrated hearing is like pouring the water directly on the root where it gets all of it. Whereas if you just throw water that way, some of it will get to the root, but it won't be as effective as pouring it directly on the root. So we have these readings about the spiritual world. This Gopal Champu talks so much about what is going on there in the spiritual world. When Krishna is here in this world, he gives us a sample of his pastimes that are there. And we have books about these, such as Krishna book and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then there is another part of the Goloka planet where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there. And as I was reading here in some part, that some of the residents in Goloka, they can appear in one place and another at the same time. So it's possible to be in Lord Chaitanya's pastime and in Krishna's pastime at the same time. We find that with like the 6 Goswamis. There's Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Gopal Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Raghunath Bhatta, and Jiva Goswami. They are existing here, or when they're with Lord Chaitanya, they're in the male form preaching, and they come to Vrindavan to write about Krishna's pastimes. Why is this easy for them? Yes?
They're extremely Krishna conscious.
Yes.
They're in them.
Because they're in them. That's it. Because at the same time, they are in another place. The same personalities that we described as the 6 Goswamis are in the spiritual world as Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, Vilas, Pavarika, Guna Manjari, Labangala Manjari, and they're there assisting the Shaktis in the relationship with Krishna. So we can't be in 2 places at once, but the great devotees can. They can be in the spiritual world, in them, assisting. It's not just an idea. They're there assisting Krishna in his pastimes, in a loving relationship. And at the same time, they're there with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and in Vrindavan. This is why they're able to appear to be such renunciants. It's easy to think that you renounce when you experience something of so much greater pleasure. It isn't so as difficult to do. So we may not be anything close to that level, but at least these great devotees are showing us what happens when we are in Krishna's Leela. That when we are in Krishna's Leela, we can vibrate Krishna's name a lot. Sometimes we try to do 32 rounds and more, and we don't find it as easy as some of these personalities who could chant 2 and 3 lakhs and could write so many books. Jiva Goswami wrote 400,000 verses by hand. So we find that is by chanting these names, we get to go to the spiritual planet. And if we become a pure devotee in Mahabhagavata, even if we are in this world, it's just like you can turn on a television and you can see what's happening with the Commonwealth Games. Are they still on?
No.
Anyway, some other game must be on, right? I saw somewhere they had a cricket game on the TV. I think Australia is playing India or something. And even if you're not there, you can turn on the TV and you can watch it and you can see exactly what's going on. So we can make a TV in our heart. We see that in Bhagavad-Gita, Sanjaya was telling Dhritarashtra, because he was pure, he was able to see Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra within his heart. So a pure Mahabhagavata can see Krishna's pastimes within his heart. This is a much better kind of television. This is called the ultimate reality show. They make TV shows, they call them reality shows, but they're not even real. They make the people act, and they come out very boring. But the ultimate reality show can be seen in your heart as Krishna's pastimes. So that when we become pure, even if we're in this world, we can be in the spiritual world at the same time. So we think, like in certain religions, they say no one has seen God. When Prabhupada says if you talk to everyone and see that no one has seen God, that means you had to meet everyone and know that everyone hasn't seen God. It's pretty hard to say everyone and no one. So now they say no one has seen God, and you only find out after you die. But you can become liberated even within this body, and you have actually achieved the spiritual planet even if your body is here. you can know what your relationship is with Krishna in the spiritual world. You can see Krishna face to face. And whether you have gone to be with Krishna in the spiritual world, or you have gone to be with Krishna in the material world somewhere to exhibit his pastimes, or even if you're here but you have Krishna's darshan, all of these are liberated. There isn't much difference between that and being back in the spiritual world, because you can see Krishna and serve him directly, and you definitely know that you have an eternal life, and you know what your eternal relationship with Krishna is. So you have the eternity, you have the knowledge, and we see the pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. They were in perfect bliss even when the body was suffering. So we find this is what we should practice in our life, to be situated in this yoga practice by vibrating the Hare Krishna mantra. Because just as all the other spiritual processes are combined in the Hare Krishna mantra, we will end up in the Goloka Vrindavan, where all the benefits of all the other material and spiritual locations are realized in Goloka Vrindavan to the highest degree beyond anything else. So if we think about the highest possible thing we could achieve, this is it. Having a relationship with Krishna, and not only going to a spiritual planet, but going to the Goloka Vrindavan planet to be with Krishna. Are there any questions or comments? Japari? Microphone? Where's the microphone?
Concerning the six Goswamis being in Goloka Vrindavan, being here, there's a word for that called Tathagata, means thus gone.
That's what?
Thus gone.
Yes.
Means, I'm not here. Wait a minute, you're here, but this thing is not here. How can that be?
Yes.
But it is so.
Yes.
People who serve Krishna that come here are not really here, but they're here. Meaning, they have...
Sounds like a Zen koan.
It's not like well, just what you said, there's the same thing. How can it be? It's because Krishna takes on full responsibility for them being here. There's never any karma for their actions. However, it may be quite difficult to see them living here. The pain and suffering they appear to go, but they're not here. They're always in Goloka Vrindavan.
Good call to it. You would like to ask something?
I just wanted to know, when you're in Goloka, you said the yogis, they have to eventually come back to the material world, the aesthetics. But is it the same when you're in the most heavenly planets?
Well, as we go up the scale, the material heavenly planets are places like Indraloka and other places. Now it is possible to go to those and work on devotional service. That depends more on if somebody did sacrifices and worship demigods just to get to a heavenly planet. If someone is a devotee, but they have some material desires and they somehow end up on a heavenly planet, then they will have the inclination to increase their devotion. But if they don't do it, it is an ultimate destination. Now the Brahmajyoti is spiritual effulgence, because you're kind of removing yourself from all desire, but because we're a person, we desire something. But if we go to either Vaikuntha or Krishna Loka, then we don't come back. So that's the difference. Heavenly planets, Brahmajyoti, we come back. Krishna Loka, we don't. So which is better?
Krishna Loka.
Another question? Yes?
Hare Krishna, Ksudi Prabhu. Thank you for doing such a wonderful presentation. My question is that even Prabhupada used to quote actual instruction wherein there is even the purpose also. Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra had so much in this mood and desire developing Krishna Prema, this Krishna Pade Prema Dhana. So he also is mentioning about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying that if one is not chanting at least 64 rounds, he's considered fallen in here. And we see that Madhvan Puri and also Haridas Thakur chanting 2 lakh, 3 lakh name, that comes to 192 rounds. It is so exalted. So since we are in the ashrama, is there some, is that can be helpful? Because at different places, even when Ramakrishna Maharaj is mentioned in his books, and he is mentioned there that they were told to chant 64 rounds by Prabhupada. But then Ramakrishna Maharaj approached him that we have so much of seva. So then he said, okay, then come to 32 rounds at least. So then he says, still you have to get from Mangala Aarti and go. Yes, also. Yes. And then he came to, okay, not less than 16 rounds.
Even in the Gaudiya Bhakti, they wanted people to chant 64, but 16 was a requirement.
Yes.
So 16 has been the requirement. And if you can chant more, that's good. But especially if you try to do service without chanting, then you may, that's more like karma yoga, doing something for Krishna without the bhakti. But if you do your 16 rounds and you do some service, or you do extra chanting, then they all combine together as bhakti yoga. So the Garga Muni used to say to people, we chant to get service. So if you already have service, you don't need to chant. I don't think that's philosophically correct, but it sounds like a good way for the temple president to get people to work more and chant less. But
And he was.
good at it, yes.
At the same time, since you've been also Prabhupada's disciple, initiated to Radhavas Bihari, which Prabhupada used to carry throughout the world. So you have so much association of Prabhupada also. So he has mentioned that at least if one is in the ashram, then that he has to do at least 8 hours of service. So you're right very much. Along with the morning food and the
In the
japa.
brahmachari ashram, different people may have different things. Some people do more service. Some people are kind of vanaprastha, and they may not be as healthy, and they do more studying and do so. The idea is there's some basic things for everybody, and then different people's situation is different. Some people study more, some people just do service and chant 16 rounds. Yeah. Some people travel and preach.
Yes, but
Some people need more rest, so it's if you're living in the ashram and temple is supporting you, then maybe that should be it. Otherwise, each temple may have a different arrangement. Some need more service, some require less of certain people.
At the same time, we see that we miss so much of association of, like Prabhupada initiated 10,000 disciples.
5,000 disciples. What's the point?
That I'm just coming to Prabhupada's instructions only, that he gave a letter to Rupa Das in 1972 that since Maya is very strong, and he has given a letter that so many different problems as a temple president he's facing about the Grihastha problems, some brahmachari problems. So Prabhupada just wrote in the answer that if one chants 16 rounds before 10 a.m. in the morning, then Maya will never touch him. So I think
Yeah, it's better to try to chant in the morning. That's why even if I'm tired, I wake up and I chant and then go. But maybe some people have service to do, some people may be more tired, maybe everybody can't finish before 10, but most you can finish before then is good.
Yes, and also like yesterday was Ekadashi, so 25 were physical.
And some of us do 32 and more in the Ekadasi. We do the breaking, that's easy because you have to chant the whole night.
This one is 64.
All right, is there another question? And then we can close it up. Who else has?